welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you are new here. So let's just jump straight into the video. I don't like listening to YouTube videos where the person just goes on and on and on with the intro and it takes them so long to get into the video, so I'm just diving right in. So today I wanted to talk about a concept that I like to view as the inner parents. And since you have clicked on my video, I guess you're the kind of person who has heard about the inner child and inner child healing, and there's probably a chance that you have done a lot of that yourself, as have I. But who's actually raising this child? Who is the one who is guiding the child? Who is helping the child? Who is teaching the child how to go through life, how to deal with their emotions, and how to actually get forward and accomplish things? Have you ever caught yourself waiting for someone else to tell you who to be, how to approach something, when to go for it, when you're ready? Because I have, and I feel like most humans have. But that's the thing. Once you have to have some external assurance for what you're going to do, how you're going to be, how you're going to live your life, that's when you give away your own authority. So I think a big part of growing into who you are meant to be, and also a big part of letting go of who you used to be and all that programming and conditioning that has been tied to your vessel, but that doesn't feel authentic to you. I think a big part of that is finding out how you can become your own authority and doing it. Actually taking back the power in your life and becoming the boss of your own life, like truly, authentically. Not as another form of programming and conditioning of who you should be and how you have to act, but like truly going into yourself and connecting to these inner voices that's deep, deep, deep inside of you and working with them to creating the life that you want. You know, when I first started planning this video and writing down this concept, it all started with like the idea of sovereignty. I wanted to work with specifically the Empress and the Emperor card in tarot and kind of get to know these archetypes. But then I was reading Clarissa Estes' Women Who Run with the Wolves, and in chapter 6 in this book she talks about the inner mother. And in that chapter she uses the story The Ugly Duckling, which I feel like most of us has heard in today's society. It's one of the most widely known fairy tales of our time. And through this story she introduces the concept of the inner mother. And I will get more into exactly what the inner mother is further into the video. But first, let's talk about our kingdom. And with our kingdom, I mean our lives, because our lives is kind of like our kingdoms. Like, literally the whole reason you are able to experience any of this, the whole reason you are able to see any of this is because of your mind. Like, your mind is creating this whole experience of life for you. Without your mind, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be able to comprehend any of the things that were happening around you. And therefore I like to think about your mind as your kingdom, because in a way it is a whole universe in itself. So you have your mind, which is your inner kingdom, but then you also have your outer kingdom, which is your environments. You know, your home, the people you hang out with, all of the things you spend your time doing throughout your days. That's your outer kingdom. But the thing is, the outer kingdom is a direct reflection of your inner kingdom. And therefore, if you want to change your outer kingdom, if you want to make your outer kingdom better, more authentic to you, the way to actually do that is to go into the inner kingdom and figure out what's happening here and what do we actually have to change in here to create the change out here. As you would in every kingdom, inside of your inner kingdom, you also have roles, as there is in an actual, 3D kingdom. And this exactly is why I wanted to work with the Empress and the Emperor card in tarot. Because I don't really work a lot with tarot when it comes to doing readings. But I really like the major arcana of tarot to... I feel like it's a way of viewing life as, viewing this existence as. Almost a mythology in itself. So in a kingdom you would have the Empress or the Queen and the Emperor or the King. You would have a whole court filled with people of different roles who contribute with different resources and energies to this kingdom. And all of these roles are important. If you remove some of them, it would create the balance. Even though some of the roles are bigger, they have a bigger voice, a bigger presence, that doesn't mean that the quieter roles aren't as important as the big roles. And if we think about these roles in a psychological inner kingdom sense, the Empress is the inner mother. The Emperor is the inner father. The court fool would be the inner child. The captain of the guard would be the warrior within. The court magician is the creator. And these are just some of the roles. In a way, we could probably take all of the major arcana and make them into roles in an actual kingdom, if you use your creativity. But today we are going to focus on the inner mother and the inner father, or else this video would become too complicated. Often when we think about the masculine and the feminine, we tend to think about it as two separate things, when in reality it's not. It's a unity. It's two halves of a whole. And a lot of times we think that to feel fulfilled inside, we have to find our counterpart or other half in external form. So like, oh, I have to find a man to feel whole inside. But I don't think that's really what it's about. Because masculine and feminine, both of those halves are inside of yourself. And this isn't about if you are a feminine, more feminine person. It isn't about finding a masculine person to fulfill you. It is about reuniting your feminine side with your masculine side. About uniting these and creating a balance within these. This is as much something that is happening inside of yourself as it is something that is happening outside of yourself. I've never heard anyone mention inner parent, an inner mother and inner father before I read The Woman Who Ran with Wolves. And this really opened up my understanding and my consciousness to a different point. And after I read it and after I understood it, I feel like I've also been able to approach life in a complete different way. So in the book, Clarissa says, most who are grown up now have as a legacy from their actual mother, an internal mother. This is an aspect of psyche that acts and responds in a manner identical to a woman's experience in childhood with her own mother. Further, this internal mother is made from not only the experience of the personal mother, but also other mothering figures in our lives, as well as the image held out as the good mother and the bad mother in culture at the time of our childhoods. For most adults, if there was a trouble with the mother once, but there is no more, there is still a duplicate mother in the psyche who sounds, acts, and responds the same way as in early childhood. Even though a woman's culture may have evolved into a more conscious reasoning about the roles of mothers, the internal mother will have the same values and ideas about what a mother should look like, act like, as those in one's childhood culture. we all have an internal mother. And this mother is, before we have actually made the work to go in, get to know her, and make her more authentic to our true selves, she's mostly made up from our own mother. So basically what she's saying here is that inside of us, we are carrying a voice of a completely different person that we are letting guide us through every decision. And this is happening unconsciously, unless we do the conscious work to change that. Even as you do the work to grow and change and evolve, your internal parents usually stays the same until you actually do the work to change that. And you don't have to have kids to be a mother or a father. Like, sometimes you have to be your own mother, sometimes you have to be your own father. When you're feeling like a child in your adult years, you have to be your own parents, because usually your own parents aren't there the same way as they used to be. And this is what creates what we usually call mommy issues and daddy issues in today's society. And you know, we all have them. Like, even if you had good parents, you still have some mommy issues and some daddy issues. Because in the end, your parents are just human, doing all of this themselves, approaching life themselves. And when mommy issues and daddy issues persist into our adulthood, then it's from the conditioning we have exactly in the inner mother and the inner father. We still have these internal voices in us that are conditioned to a way of life that we don't really align to, that we don't really want anymore. Yet still this goes so deep, it's in your unconscious. So you have to really go deep within yourself to work with that. And you know, once you grow up, this isn't really about your parents anymore. Yeah, when you're a kid, you don't really have a control over what's happening, over what you're being exposed to. But once you grow up, this isn't about your parents anymore. It's about the version of them that still lives inside of our psyches. And that's why growing up is really about, you know, reconstructing and rebuilding your own kingdom. Starting with your inner mother and inner father. Once you rebuild and reconstruct these roles inside of your inner psyche, inner kingdom, your inner child will be good, it will be healed, it will be protected and nurtured, because you have worked with the source of the inner child, which is the inner parents. So before I get into talking about the Empress inner self as the inner mother and the Emperor as the inner father, I want to read something to you. So this is something I found in my notes app just like a couple of days ago, and I was like, oh, this is actually so perfect to the video I'm making right now. And this is like a journal entry I wrote probably at midnight while I was sitting underneath the midnight sun about a year ago. It's called The Sun and the Moon as Parents. The sun and the moon sometimes feel like my true parents. They care for me in a way I wish my own parents would have. Under the light of the moon, I can feel all my emotions without shame and without fear. She holds you with so much tenderness, but she will also confront you with the truths you may not be ready to hear yet. She's the wild feminine. She brings forth the darkest, most forbidden parts of yourself, the feelings you've hidden away for too long. Under the light of the moon, everything is allowed. She has the capacity to witness everything that is you, every emotion, every aspect, every part of you, without shaming you, without blaming you, just allowing you. The sun gives you energy, it motivates you, it roots you back down on this earth. The sun is the reason we're all here, able to experience this planet. It shines light on everything material, on everything it means to be a human, for better and for worse. Underneath the sun, everything you do gets illuminated, so we tend to feel more drawn toward behaving according to a certain standard. It's easier for our survival instinct to take over. I spend more time with ancient cosmic beings than with people. That's where I feel at home, where everything simply is. Aren't we so lucky to have the sun and the moon though? Every day I feel when I see the sun and the moon, every time I'm like, thank you. Thank you for being. Truly. So let's talk about the inner mother, the Empress. If you look at the Empress in tarot, she represents love, nurture, emotion, sensuality, sexuality, pleasure, play, and life itself. She reminds us that life isn't something that's meant to be controlled. Life is something that we have come here to experience. We've come here to live and feel and love fully, with all its beauty, with all its messiness and ugliness. So to embody the Empress is to love, to feel, and to live. So we live in a culture, in a society where we're literally taught to not feel our emotions. I feel like most of ours programming. We're meant to control our emotions in a certain way, to feel a certain way all of the time, to act and behave a certain way all of the time. We're so disconnected from our emotions. And our emotions is part of our instinctual nature as humans. So being disconnected from our emotions means that we are disconnected from our body, from our soul. Because emotions is your body and soul's way of communicating with you. You know, when you feel happy, that's your body telling you that this feels good, keep doing this feels nice. When you get jealous of someone, that's a signal that that person has something that you want to. That person has something that your body recognizes as its own. And being jealous of someone also means that you have the capacity to get that. But not if you stay in the feeling of jealousy. Even in the more awoken communities on social media, they tend to teach you how to control your emotions. Like you should always change your emotions to stay more positive, to stay in a higher vibrational state. Like if you want to manifest something, you have to stay grateful all the time, you have to stay joyous all the time to get that thing. But that's not true. I don't think emotions is about control at all. I think it's about allowing. I don't think we should even talk about control and emotions in the same sentence. What we need to do is to teach ourselves how to sit with our emotions without letting them control you and without having to control them. Just letting them come, pass through you, tell you what they need to tell you, signal to you what they're trying to signal to you, and then releasing it. We must learn how to witness our emotions without becoming them fully and without suppressing them. And the thing about emotions and manifestations, about emotions and attracting to what you want, you don't always have to feel grateful and good. It's about actually letting those emotions come and still returning to the grateful, joyous state time and time again. even when everything is at odds, when it doesn't seem like you will be able, you still are able to find that gratefulness. It's not about removing those emotions and never feeling them again. They're part of our human experience. We're always going to feel all the emotions. There's nothing we can do to get them away from us in forever. The only thing we can do is to surrender. And the thing about emotions is that there is so much creative power in every emotions, even in the negative and bad emotions. You can use your anger to create something that feels meaningful and purposeful to you. But that also means that you have to learn how to not give away your anger. It's not about controlling your anger. We don't want to control it. But it's about allowing yourself to feel that anger without having to affect your external environment by distracting something or someone with that anger. It's not about holding it in you either. You're not supposed to sit with it into yourself. But take that anger. And anger is one of the most powerful emotions we have. So if you feel angry, take a conscious choice. What do I want to do with this anger? What can I make of this anger? Because if you choose to create something that is meaningful and purposeful to you from that anger, that thing is gonna have power. Trust me, it's gonna have power. No matter if you choose to never show it to someone, it's still gonna have power, and it's still gonna affect the general vibration of this planet. And that's exactly what the inner mother is supposed to teach us. That life isn't something we're meant to control into perfection. Life isn't something we're meant to have figured out, whatever that means. There's always new shit to figure out. Life is meant to be lived. Every experience is meant to be experienced, or else they wouldn't have happened. And that means facing both the beauty and the ugliness, the joy and the grief, the pleasure and the suffering, with an open heart. But the kingdom cannot survive on life alone. Freedom needs a direction, and love needs boundaries. And this is where the Emperor enters the picture. The Emperor is our inner father, while the Empress represents nature, creation, and the wild. The Emperor represents structure, the society, everything that is illuminated. If the Empress is the wilderness, then the Emperor is the civilization. Within your inner kingdom, the Emperor is the keeper of order. He represents structure, responsibility, discipline, boundaries, and the principles that allow the kingdom to function, not by suppressing life, but by giving it a stable foundation on which to flourish. I almost like viewing this as a glass of water. So the water represents the feminine, the Empress, the inner mother, whereas the glass, the structure, represents the masculine, as the Emperor and the inner father. So the water is the life force. The water is what makes things live and grow. It is what gives life. Everything life comes from water, but it needs the glass, it needs the structure, it needs the kind of capsule to hold it in, because without that the water would just spill out and be everywhere, and you wouldn't actually get really use of it. But with this glass you can contain it and you can create life with it. So the Emperor is the one within your inner kingdom that creates the laws, but also enforces them, that makes sure that the laws are upheld. And these laws are based on your values. So you must pick the laws according to your values. You must pick the laws that are gonna help you live your values. That means if you value freedom, you must have laws that will protect your freedom. If you value peace, you must have laws that will protect your peace. If your highest value is creativity, you must have laws that make it possible for creativity to exist. But you must also uphold these laws. And this is where boundaries come in. Boundaries are the walls that protect your kingdom and the laws that govern it. They should both reflect and respect who you are, what you want out of this life, and what you are willing and unwilling to do and give. And what's most important here is that you respect your own boundaries. Because a lot of the times we find ourselves in a situation where our boundaries aren't respected, and that feels like shit. And especially as women, we have the tendency to not enforce these boundaries, to let them be disrespected. And that's our biggest mistake. So this is where protecting your own boundaries is so important. You have to be the one who respects your boundaries the most. And that will lead to people not being able to bend these boundaries, move these boundaries, destroy these boundaries. So if someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, the Emperor comes in to remind you that the most important thing is that you respect your own laws. And that means that sometimes you're gonna have to say no 2 times, maybe even 3 times, maybe even 10 times. Sometimes you're gonna have to just turn your back and walk away. Get your ass out of there. Sometimes that means protecting your kingdom instead of explaining it. The Emperor is structure. He is discipline. He is stability. He provides the structure that allows life to take form. Because of the Emperor, the Empress is able to create whatever she wishes to create. We cannot live as if we were wild creatures just running barefoot in the forest, hugging trees, sniffing grass. Although, I wish sometimes we wish we could just be that, but that's not reality. We live in a material world. We have to work, we have to have shelter, we have to have food, we have to have structure. So the Empress alone isn't enough. We have to have the Emperor. There has to be a co-creation and balance between these 2 energies within yourself. I want to talk about the Emperor's shadow side for a moment though. Because he does have a shadow side. Just as societies can become corrupt, so can our own inner kingdom. Our inner laws can become corrupt. And it happens more frequently than we would wish to. Many of the rules and laws that we live by aren't actually ours. They have been placed within us by parents, by school, by society and culture, by fears, by friends. Any number of things could have planted these laws that don't really feel true to you inside of you. The thing about the human mind is that if something is repeated enough times, it will become your subconscious truth. Even if you don't want it to, even if you don't mean for it to. Unless you are very good at boundaries, at upholding these laws, at setting down the law every time someone tries to break it. But it takes a lot of courage and strength to do that. So sometimes we just find ourselves in a position where our laws have been corrupted. And when the Emperor protects these laws, he doesn't really protect our kingdom anymore. He becomes the oppressor from within. And this is why silence and nature is so necessary. I cannot even speak about this enough. Silence is so important, and we live in a society where we almost never get silence. Even when we are alone by ourselves, nothing around us, there's still so much noise and stimulation constantly. So we must find our pockets of silence every day. Maybe that's meditating for you. Maybe it's going into the forest by yourself, without music in your ears, without someone to talk to, just you and your head alone on the path. There's so much you can do to find that silence within. It's only when we have true silence around us that we can truly connect to whatever is happening within us, to the voices within. And that's when we can start to ask, who are these inner parents really protecting? Are the laws that rule my life really making me happy and at peace with the life that I am creating? The answer to these questions can only begin to surface when you allow yourself to sit in silence. And that may be hard. It's not supposed to be pleasant, because this is confronting everything within you. And many of the things within you doesn't really make you feel good, especially when it comes to that conditioning and programming that have been placed within us from a very early age. It's not supposed to be a pleasant, joyous experience confronting these things. But it is supposed to be healing. It is supposed to be enlightening and freeing. So instead of constantly chasing happiness, whatever that is, shouldn't you be trying to create freedom? Shouldn't you be trying to create healing from within? And a lot of healing comes from sitting in your darkness, surrounded by all the demons you've had within you, both that comes from you and the ones that have been placed within you. And it's not about chasing them away. It's not about shaming them or making them feel bad. It's about making them feel safe enough to finally step into the light again. So let us bring this back till the thing that initially sparked this idea, this video within me, which is sovereignty. Being the ruler and the authority of your own life. Because being sovereign isn't about ruling other people and ruling circumstances. Being truly sovereign is about becoming a wise ruler yourself. It's about rebuilding your inner mother and your inner father until they're no longer just unconscious voices from somewhere in your past, but they're actually two wholes that are working together with you to bring you the life that you want. Because in the end, your life, your environment, your outer kingdom will always reflect the kingdom you have within. So everything starts there. Everything starts and ends with you. Okay. Okay, so that was it for the video. Okay, so my camera is about to die, so I just need to end this video before it ends itself. Thank you for watching. I hope some of what I was talking about now made sense. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. It really helps me. And I'll see you in the next video.